So good to meet you finally.
Likewise, thank you
Yeah.
so much for being involved in this. We really seriously appreciate the help.
Oh my gosh, no, not at all. It's such a cool project, and it's been good, really good to have the excuse to sort of dig into what you've done before and what's coming up. And it's just so cool. I don't know, I was looking, so um the original Voices of the New project was Astronautica. Is that right?
Yes. So Voices of the New was started just before the pandemic. Liz Norman and Dennis Keene at Voices of Ascension uh, got a big grant to do something forward thinking, after having spent 35 years, I guess it was, as a very traditional choral orchestral organization. And not knowing quite what to do, they kind of put out the word to their community, to the community of musicians and singers, sorry, of singing musicians and instrumentalists that they've worked with, kind of an open call for ideas. And it just so happened that I coincidentally had this idea that that was stewing in the back of my mind, because I had the vocal trio of Kirsten Solek and Lindsay Kesselman. We had started jokingly, we had given ourselves a name, Trio Triumphatrix, after the Vivaldi Judita Triumphans that we had all sung in. So we had named ourselves and said that we were a trio, but we didn't have any projects yet. And I had, after watching a National Geographic documentary, I think, about astronauts, I had this idea to just use quotes from astronauts talking about what it was like to look at the Earth from outside, and use those as lyrics, because so much of it is kind of poetic just by the nature of what they're saying. And also I have this kind of like women in STEM interest, so I wanted to use all the words of women who have been in space. So that was the initial idea for Astronautica, and I just kind of blurted all this in about as organized a way to Liz and Dennis, and they were like, "Oh, yes." It additionally had the benefit that we could make it multimedia, because NASA makes all of their image and video content completely public domain. Anyone is allowed to use it for educational or artistic purposes without asking for permission. And that's a huge amount of beautiful content that we were then able to make a video accompaniment for our commissions.
Well, yeah, and very, very candid content. Or I don't know, I was just sort of looking into the programmatic history, and then finding my way to the words, to the text that you used. And I was like, it was so moving just to read the words.
Right? That's exactly how I felt.
And in all directions, like hilariously funny to like very tragic to very uplifting. And so I can only imagine what it was like with music and with all the commissions and awesome composers that you brought in. It's just such an auspicious beginning for this.
Yeah, such an auspicious beginning in 2019, right, with a planned premiere in May 2020. So
but that has happened both in now a digital and live format.
Yes, obviously May 2020 live concert was canceled, but they had the budget that they had been planning for that, so we just pivoted and made an entirely digital product. But instead of it being a video of a live concert like so many people, or like a Zoom recording of a concert in your living room, we just went full on music video and kind of we got together in a safe way, that just the three of us, and we recorded we recorded all the music and we did some green screen. We set up a gigantic green screen in one of our living rooms.
Must have been, yeah.
It was so fun. And then we put ourselves in space and made an album.
I need to see that.
It was super fun. And even though it was extremely, I mean, it was appropriately disorienting to be doing that in the middle of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Is at 6.
And you may take your visors as required for day.
And visors set for EV1. EV1's at 5.
The hatch is open on the Quest airlock.
Copy. And I have one warning and one caution if it's a good time.
Oh, sure. I'm ready for that.
Also, check your gauntlets in place.
Okay, copy. My gauntlets are in place. Just the right spot. Good call.
Sunrise in 3 minutes.
It's been 100 since the first flight of an airplane, and look how far we've come. It's been 100 years since the first flight of an airplane, and look how far we've come. It's been how far we've come since the first flight of an airplane. Look how far we've come. 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 And look how far we've come. Look how far we've come. Look how far we've come. Look how far It's been 100 years since the first flight of an airplane, and look how far we've come. 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 Where are we going to be in 100 years from now? Where are we going to be in 100 years from now? Where are we going to be in 100 years from now? Where are we going to be in 100 years from now? Where are we going to be in 100 years from now? Where are we going to be? 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 100 years from now? Where are we going to
Yeah, but then from that to orbits, which seems at least like in title related, but
Yeah, and I think that
was the underpinning of that one.
yeah, I think it was just kind of entirely a coincidence that it was that it the titles fit thematically. I actually don't know exactly how Liz and Dennis found Will, but I can well imagine that when he proposed a piece for singers and shout house and a spoken word artist, um, that it fit into into the orbit of what Voices of the New already was.
Yeah.
And then it really did follow on in a strange and beautiful way from Astronautica, to make that piece with Will and Shout House and Spirit Child. Spirit Child is the name of the hip hop artist who
Right.
wrote the lyrics and also performed in it with us.
Well, yeah, and that's one of the things that's really struck me in sort of getting to know what Voices of the New is doing, is that it, I don't know, I think in a lot of instances when sort of a more traditional performing arts organization wants to sort of move in a new direction, it tends to be in sort of small and incremental ways. And this project sort of feels like a kind of like a major departure in a lot of ways, and sort of quite a courageous giant leap into something completely new and different. But I guess, sort of going from kind of like choral rep in a lot of their performances to a hip hop ensemble, basically.
Right.
Well, and I guess within that, your sort of role, I mean, so all sort of taking a quick peek into sort of all of the things that you do, sort of everything from like ancient and early music to, I think, it seems like a lot of contemporary stuff, and sort of, you sing in opera and in recitals, but also in, choral and sort of medium chamber music settings. So it's sort of, and then the side of sort of you, like me, loving to dig into curation and program design and things like that. So sort of how how does this, well, I guess even on a larger scale, how does Voices of Ascension fit into what you do? And then now this, this new project.
It feels strange to talk about it personally in a way, because I like to think of what I'm doing with Voices of the New and with Voices of Ascension now as just kind of a curation of communal ideas. My own, so I, like you said, besides the other things I do, I do some choral singing in New York, mostly to pay the bills, which is not to say that I don't enjoy it, but I think of it as what I do when I have empty time and and still need to be making a living. But I do mostly enjoy it, and I certainly enjoy singing with Voices of Ascension because it's a great kind of communal family feeling, and it's there's so many talented, interesting people involved. And when you're in a choral situation in New York, everyone in the chorus has some other musical life outside of the chorus. Mostly people are not just singing as professional choristers. They're doing that to fill in around other things. And talking to people and knowing people's musical lives, you just always know that everybody has some kind of thing that they're working on the side, or that is their main concentration, or that they have a band, or they write music, or they also play an instrument, or whatever it is. There's so many musical ideas within the chorus that are just in our background lives when we come together and sing Duruflé or Mozart. And but as I said, I'm hoping I don't want to prescribe anything either. I want to see whether we can come together in a space and be open to building something from the ground up, to just bring our whole selves into a room as singers, as artists, as musicians, as people, as Americans, or some of us are not Americans. If we can all come together and see how our whole selves fit together into an ensemble, instead of trying to slot ourselves into an already existing paradigm.
Right.